We all know that fire departments put out fires and rescue people. But did you know that the Santa Clara County Fire Department offers many other services in addition to firefighting? Educating the community on fire and life safety is a top priority for the department. I'm Grace Trafton of The Better Part. Stay tuned. My guest today, Gina Kelly, has been with the Santa Clara County Fire Department since 2002. She's the holder of 2 master's degrees and is currently a senior program specialist for the department and oversees the community education programs. Along with her staff, she also acts as a referral service for assisting residents in locating community resources and services. Welcome, Gina.
Thank you, Grace.
First, tell us, when was the Santa Clara County Fire Department established, and what communities does it serve?
Santa Clara County Fire Department was established in 1947, and we are an internationally accredited agency that is governed by the Santa Clara County Board of Supervisors. The communities that we serve are Campbell, Cupertino, Los Altos Hills, Los Gatos, Montecito, Saratoga, and unincorporated communities within Santa Clara County.
You covered quite a few different communities, and so how large is the county fire department?
County Fire serves and protects over 225,000 residents, over 128 square miles of territory. We currently have 24-hour staffing that consists of 66 firefighters and officers out of 15 fire stations. The fire suppression line is also augmented by 27 volunteer firefighters.
So why do some communities have their own individual fire departments and others belong to the county fire department?
Well, county fire, as we're also known as, is a special district in that we our communities, our cities, contract fire services with us. So, for instance, San Jose has their own fire department within the city of San Jose, whereas the cities that I listed, Campbell, Cupertino, and so forth, they sign contracts with us to provide those services. So our fire chief, Ken Kemna, is appointed by the Board of Supervisors, and then he works directly with city staff and mayors and city council. And so, whereas, again, cities that have their own fire department, they directly work within that city council. Mm-hmm. So, because we serve and protect 7 different communities, we're working with all of those different types of different city councils.
So it sounds like you have a more complex job.
We do.
Don't you?
Yes. So,
are there differences in the services provided by county fire and individual fire departments?
Well, generally, fire departments, offer similar services: fire suppression and fire prevention and operations and so forth. County fire, we have also a very robust education and outreach program. We also provide hazardous materials response throughout the entire county, not just within our jurisdiction. And we offer advanced life support services as well.
Since you're involved with educating people on fire and life safety issues, talk to us about how families can prepare themselves for fires.
Absolutely. It's incredibly important that families do prepare. If a fire breaks out in the home, fire spreads incredibly fast, and you may have as little as 1 to 2 minutes to exit safely once the alarm sounds.
Just 1 to 2 minutes?
Just about 1 to 2 minutes, and that's why we do urge our residents to prepare, and one way to do that is to create a home escape plan. And what that includes are labeling the exits out of every room in the home, and you should have a minimum of 2 exits. And especially families with young children, drawing a floor plan is incredibly important for them to visualize and see where the exits are. And the 2 main exits consist of doors and windows.
That's a good idea, drawing them out for younger children.
Yes, and we always stress using the door first. It's the easiest way in, it's the easiest way out, but knowing that a window is a secondary option to exit the home.
Now, I know that fire alarms are, smoke alarms are really important. Tell us about smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms too, including where they should be installed within the home.
Yes, smoke alarms and carbon monoxide alarms are required to be installed in all homes. For smoke alarms, they should be installed in every bedroom, in the hallway leading to the bedrooms, and on every level of the home. Carbon monoxide alarms should be installed centrally located. So you need more smoke alarms to provide protection against fire. Carbon monoxide alarms, it's just required that it's one per level of the home. I do have some samples, this one in particular. So this is a smoke alarm. It's a 10-year lithium battery smoke alarm. That means you can't remove the battery. This unit itself is good for 10 years to protect the family and to alert them if there is a fire. There's also combination alarms available. This one is a combination alarm. So this is a smoke and carbon monoxide alarm. Oh. So it detects the presence of smoke as well as the presence of carbon monoxide. Because this is a combination alarm, it's really important that these are installed up on the ceiling for the presence of smoke. Carbon monoxide alarms also, so most families and most homes have the smoke alarms installed. The carbon monoxide alarm is fairly new, the requirement to install them. And there are two types. There's battery operated, and then there's actually plug-in operated. So with the plug-in carbon monoxide alarm, you simply just plug it right into the outlet into the home, and you've already installed your carbon monoxide alarm.
So it's very simple.
Very simple. It's important that we install this at least 15 to 20 feet away from a source of carbon monoxide. And sources include a gas stove, a gas furnace, an attached garage. When you pull your vehicle in, the vehicles emit carbon monoxide, a fireplace if you light a fire during the winter months, and so forth. So there are multiple sources in a home that can produce carbon monoxide poisoning.
So it can be plugged into an outlet that's close to the floor.
Yeah, so with smoke alarms, and here's a sample of a 10-year lithium battery smoke alarm. So with smoke alarms, it's incredibly important that we want to install them up on the ceiling because smoke rises. It doesn't matter if you're inside or outside the home. So these always go high on the ceiling. With a carbon monoxide alarm, carbon monoxide is almost the same weight as air, so it's not going to rise, it's not going to fall, it's just going to mingle. So the height of the alarm doesn't necessarily matter. What's most important is simply installing them in the home, and it's one per level of the home. For smoke alarms, as I mentioned earlier, you need multiple of them for maximum protection in the home.
And these can be purchased at any hardware
store? Yeah, Costco sells them, anywhere. There isn't one brand over another that's recommended by the fire department. The two main companies that produce this life-saving equipment is Kidde and First Alert. But really, what's most important is making sure that no matter which ones you buy is that they are UL listed. UL, Underwriters Laboratory listed, yes.
Great, that's good to know. So tell us, what is the #1 cause of fires in the home?
So the #1 cause of fires is cooking, and that statistic has remained pretty consistent during my career here in the fire service. Cooking's a part of our normal daily lives, right? We do it every day. So it's incredibly important that we're mindful when we do cook. So watch what you fry is kind of a saying. To not wear any loose clothing when you're cooking, especially if you have a gas stove, wear a robe in the morning where you're cooking, your eggs that can fall close to the flame and catch fire. And then cooking on too high heat is another reason. But the #1 reason why cooking is the #1 cause of home fires is we leave it unattended. So we put something on the stove and we simply forget about it. So There are some tricks that you can do to help remind you that you have something cooking on the stove. Is hold a spoon in your hand. If you go and sit down on the couch and you have this spoon, you look down, oh, I got something on the stove. Or set a timer, right? Cell phones have timers, your oven has timers, your microwave has timers. Put an oven mitt on your hand again. So there are some tricks that you can do to remind yourself that you do have something cooking on the stove. We don't ever want to leave it unattended.
Yeah, those are good tips. So I see that you brought a pan with you. I
did.
And what are you going to show us with the pan?
So, because cooking is the #1 cause of house fires, I brought a pan to show you that if when you're cooking on the stove and this were to catch on fire, generally most people don't cook with a lid. Regardless, you should have that lid nearby. Fire needs 3 things to happen. It needs air, which we're surrounded by. It needs fuel, something to burn, and it needs heat. So when you're cooking, those are the 3 elements already. We already have fire present. It's when it goes beyond what we're doing here in the pan, that's when it turns bad. So with cooking, the way to put out a fire is to take 1 or more of those elements away. So if this pan is on the stove and all of a sudden fire starts to shoot out from underneath, one way, as I just mentioned, is suffocating the fire takes away the oxygen. So if this pan is on the stove, I want to take this lid and protect my body and just simply slide it over and suffocate that fire. And then turn down the heat, step back. If the fire starts spreading up beyond the stove or near your oven, that's when it's time to exit the home immediately and call 911. So the lid is a quick and easy. You can also use a cookie sheet to suffocate anything that's metal, essentially. You can also use a fire extinguisher. This is a multi-purpose fire extinguisher that we have here. And on every fire extinguisher, there are steps to take on how to use a fire extinguisher. It's called PASS. And that stands for, you want to pull the pin, you want to aim. So if this is my pan that's on fire, and of course I'd be back at least 8 to 10 feet, I'm going to aim it at the base of the fire. So what happens is the flames shoot up, and that's what scares people. So when the flames are shooting up, if we use a fire extinguisher and we only suppress the flames, the base is still burning. So what's important with the fire extinguisher is that you're aiming it at the base of the fire, and then I'm going to squeeze it and then sweep from side to side, making sure I cover as much area as possible. I do want to caution the use of fire extinguishers. They absolutely work to put out a fire. These are meant for very small fires. So this size fire, this pan or small wastebasket. Anything larger than that, this will not help you. If I pull this pin and I squeeze this and the agent comes out, this unit itself that I'm holding in my hand will last about 10 to 15 seconds. Oh, really? So there's a misconception that it'll put out a large fire and give you the time that's needed. So they absolutely work. You know, you should have them in your home, but really know that they're meant for small fires. If that fire starts spreading, it's incredibly important that everybody exit the home immediately and just simply call 911. The quicker you can activate 911 and get the fire department there, then the less damage that can be done to your home. So this will only last for 8 to 10 seconds? About 10 seconds, 10 to 15 seconds. Oh my goodness. Yes. I never realized that. So tell us about electrical fires. Yeah, so electrical fires is generally the #2 cause of house fires. And why that is, you know, electricity, we can't live without electricity, right? Plugging in your coffee maker or charging your computer, right? Those are second nature to us, and electricity makes our lives easier. But what on the flip side of that is to be very mindful when we are using electricity. All electrical work should be installed by a certified electrician. The other thing about electricity is, if this is our outlet, I'm going to use this again. What happens is this is meant for two items. Well, because we have lots of things to plug in, generally what people may use are these things, and they're called cube taps. And so what they do is they plug this in. Well, now I went from an outlet only holding 2 items to now I can plug in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 items. Okay? So when you do this, you're essentially overloading your outlet. And this receptacle is just going to have too much electricity flowing through if all 6 items were plugged in. So what's recommended is to use a surge protector, and I have some examples here. So these two are surge protectors. They do the same thing where they monitor the amount of electricity going through the outlet. This kind you just simply plug right into an outlet. So if my outlet was here, I just simply plug it in right like that. Or there's this kind that has the extension cord to it. And again, I would just plug it right into my outlet. It allows me to plug in many electrical items, but what this unit does is it monitors the amount of joules, electricity that's going through. If it's too much, it just trips right off.
I see.
So these have prevented many home fires. It's when we overload our outlets using things like this, then that's where the danger sets in.
So, and this other one does the same thing?
So yes, these are, and so these actually do the exact same thing. They're just two different types.
Okay.
I did bring an extension cord here to show you. So they look very similar if you look at it. But I want to caution people, be careful when you are in the store looking for surge protectors, is it must read surge protector on the packaging. So again, these look similar, but this is just a multi-outlet type extension cord. That's all this is. Whereas this, again, looks similar, but this is an actual surge protector.
So the other one isn't a surge protector?
This one is not. It will not monitor the amount of electricity going through.
I see.
So it's important that when you're shopping at Target or Home Depot to make sure that you're purchasing a surge protector, and again, it will say it on the packaging.
And we shouldn't forget about this furnace, so why don't you give us some tips on keeping our furnaces safe?
Sure. Furnaces, of course, the use goes up during the winter time when we want to turn on our heater, but it's important to keep the area around the furnace free of lint and debris, really. So you want to vacuum or clean that area periodically. For the vents that come out of the floors in homes, or the vents that come out of the walls, it's important that we don't block the airflow with furniture, Christmas trees, rugs, anything that's flammable or that could catch fire. And then, of course, like any hot thing in the home, is keeping, and educating your children to stay away from, because the metal components of a furnace get very hot, and so we want to, caution them and teach them that they need to stay away from the furnace.
Now, doesn't PG&E also provide a free service? They'll come and inspect your furnace?
They do. They offer that once a year. So you can have all of your gas appliances inspected in the home free of charge, and you simply call them. They even do Saturday appointments, because I had them come out on a Saturday to my home.
Oh, that's great. So that's a really good service that they provide.
Absolutely.
And they'll do it once a year?
Once a year.
Okay. That's really good to know. Now, you have a number of educational programs for young people. What's your basic approach to the younger set?
So we do. Our education program, our community education program, is very robust, as I mentioned earlier, and we educate young children, preschool age, all the way up to senior citizens. And we are one of the only fire departments in the county that proactively educates children under the age of 5. Children under the age of 5, according to NFPA, which is the National Fire Protection Association, they do statistical information, or they capture statistical information, and children under the age of 5 are in the highest risk group of starting fires. So we're very proactive in being out in the community, and we actually have what's called a preschool program. And so we do preschool programs weekly, and it includes classroom instruction with the young children, and then they get to go outside and see the firefighters and the big white fire engines or the fire trucks, and they love that part. And they get to see what a firefighter looks like, they get to touch them, they get to feel them, they get to hear them. And it's incredibly important for them to know that they're not these big scary monsters, but they're there to help in the case of a fire.
Yeah, that must be a fun program for the children. Now, the preschool program, I think, starts at age 2, is that right? So what are 2-year-olds getting out of this?
So with 2-year-olds, they're getting really the exposure to firefighters, basically. So, and parents can help educate their young kids by keeping them safe in terms of making sure matches and lighters are out of their reach. Incredibly important. But really, for 2-year-olds, is getting them to see, some 2-year-olds absolutely love seeing the firefighters, go from station uniform all the way dressed in what's called turnouts, or their special clothing that they use when they fight a fire. And so the 2-year-olds will join the 3- and 5-year-olds outside with the fire engine and get to see them. And some get scared, and you know, they kind of warm up after a little bit of time. But all of our firefighters are excellent with young children, and they spend the time with them, and they give them high fives, and just to let them know that they're their friends.
That's wonderful. I think it's good to start them at a young age. Now tell us more about the programs dedicated to reducing the number of fires and injuries involving youth.
We have, actually it's called YFIP, Youth Firesetter Intervention Program, YFIP, and that's a county-wide program that we started a couple years ago, and it's for dedicated and to at-risk youth who have experience in fire setting activities or an interest in fire setting activities. And so it is for the youth within the county, and this program is not a punitive approach like you're bad, you're bad, you're bad. In fact, it's the opposite. What this program does is it allows these youth exposure with different agencies. So there are mental health agencies involved, so Bill Wilson. There are fire departments, there are police departments and sheriff's departments. We also have the Valley Medical Center burn unit involved there, and she, Jill Sproul there, who's the nurse manager, she talks with the parents and the youth at the very first part of the program. She's a burn survivor herself, and then they actually get to tour the burn center. So it's a very robust program in that we incorporate many different elements, and then at the end of the program, it teaches these youth about character building and self-esteem and responsibility, that they are responsible for their actions. And so we really want them to know that, and how can they increase their self-esteem so they can make better choices. And then, of course, they get quite a bit of fire safety, too. So if they are caught in a house fire, what to do and what they can do to prepare themselves.
Lots of teenagers babysit younger children, and that's a really big responsibility. And I know that you have a program called SafeSitters babysitting training course. Tell us about that one.
Yeah, so SafeSitters is a nonprofit national training program, and what this program does is it teaches youth, again, how to keep themselves safe. And then whether they're home alone, whether they're sitting and watching younger siblings, or whether they're babysitting for money. This program, again, it's a national organization that we've adopted, and the curriculum is really good. It's interactive, and it teaches these youth responsibility and then safety for themselves and for the children that they're watching. You know, how to detect or how to deal with inappropriate behavior if that does happen, and then fire and life safety skills, what to do if there is a fire, and then what to do if a child starts choking, because if they are watching young children, you know, choking is prone to whether it be a toy or food, so they can jump in and act quickly to help the child. Now,
at the other end of the age spectrum, you also have programs for seniors. What's covered in the seniors workshops?
Yeah, so we have a program called the Senior Fire and Fall Prevention Program, and what this program includes is fire safety and fall prevention, as well as health and wellness. It's, again, a very detailed program, in that all of the seniors that attend this program get a very detailed outline, and then inside the program, what it covers, of course, is a lot of the things that I talked about already: smoke alarm, carbon monoxide alarm, fire safety, home escape planning. And then we also spend a large time talking about fall prevention. County Fire runs over 70% medical calls, and included in that are lots of falls from our senior population. So we are very active in educating our seniors on what they can do to avoid the falls in the first place. So this program does target fall prevention. We also talk about medication and sharps disposal, how to properly dispose of that. And then, as you mentioned earlier, what we do is we link them and help them find services that are available, you know, health and human services that are available within Santa Clara County, because a lot of them don't realize that there are so many services out there.
You offer so many services, and in fact, I took the CPR AED class recently, and it appeared to be really popular. So tell us very briefly what takes place in this class.
Yeah, so we offer the American Heart Association CPR AED Heart Saver course, and this class is available to anybody the second Thursday of every month at our training center in Campbell. And this is a video-based instructor-led class that teaches cardiopulmonary resuscitation, CPR, to learn how to perform CPR for an adult, child, and infant, as well as what an AED is and how to use it. And an AED stands for Automated External Defibrillator, and this is just one sample type of a AED. And what this unit does is, if I open this, it's all automatic. And then
begin by removing all clothing from the patient's chest.
Okay, so what this unit does is it helps in the event of cardiac arrest. If a teenager or an adult drops down for cardiac arrest, then if this device is placed on this patient within the first 5 minutes, they have a 50% chance of surviving. What it does is all it's looking for is for one heart rhythm, which is called ventricular fibrillation, or VFib. If it detects it, it's going to ask for a shock. And it's meant to stop that heart from quivering really fast, and then to get that heart to jump right back into its normal rhythm, which is pumping oxygenated blood throughout the body.
Do you also teach first aid classes?
We only offer CPR and CPR classes to the community at this time.
Now, you also have a couple of classes related to preparedness training. Can you tell us about those?
Yeah, so disaster can strike right at any time.
Right.
And so we do urge all of our residents to be prepared, because if a major disaster does hit our area, it may be days before you see emergency services arrive in your neighborhood. So the two classes that we have to help people prepare one is called PEP, one is called CERT. PEP stands for Personal Emergency Preparedness, and that's a free 3-hour class that goes over basic preparedness and basic first aid. And then we also have CERT, which stands for Community Emergency Response Team. This one is a little bit more labor intensive. It is a 21-hour course, and it is offered within our jurisdiction. And what this course does is you actually become a DSW, or what's called a disaster service worker, where if you're willing and a disaster hits and your city activates you, then you can help out during a disaster.
Now, we all know that we have to dial 911 for an emergency, but there's also a number called 211. When should we dial 211?
Yes. So 911 is for emergencies, and now 211 is available. And what 211 is, it's available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and over 140 different languages, and it was put into place back in 2007 with the United Way. What 211 offers is basically health and human services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Thank you, Gina, for being with us today. You've given us so many good tips and good information. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for allowing me to be here, and I want everyone to stay safe.
The Better Part is produced by volunteers at the Cupertino Senior Center. Absolutely no experience is required to join the Better Part. If you would like to look into being a part of our group, please leave a message with the Cupertino Senior Center. It's a lot of fun to be part of a TV show, so check us out. And thank you for being with us today. And remember to also watch us on YouTube and Roku. See you next time. Bye-bye.